Our sun has gone down. Our sun has been lost from view and has left us in complete darkness. But we know it will return again, that it'll rise again to light us anew. These words were uttered by the last Mexica/Aztec emperor, Cuauhtemoc. Now, it is interesting to note that his name consists of the word Cuautli for eagle and Temoc, descending or falling. Therefore, his name stands for eagle in descent or fallen eagle. Now, we first need to discuss these two symbols, that of the eagle and the sun. For many ancient civilizations, the eagle represented the sun and, in a sense, the spirit as well, due to the acuteness of its vision and how objective it remains from its prey. It was compared to the all-seeing eye. And due to the fact that it governs the skies, it is compared to the sky gods or sky deities. Now, there's an analogy between the fact that the eagle has fallen, as attested by how both Cuauhtemoc and the Mexica Empire fell, as well as it's described in his final speech, the sun being lost from view. There's a bit of an analogy. So the eagle descends, the sun is hidden from view. Now, as far as the place of the eagle and the trinity of the eagle, Quetzal and Condor, the eagle to indigenous Americans represents the northern partition of the continent. Even though the Aztecs, Mexica settled in the Valley of Mexico, they did migrate southward from the territories of the north. Now, writer Tonatiuh Garza, in his book Naciendo la Vida, compares the spirit of darkness of which Cuauhtemoc spoke to a vulture. So pretty much our sun has been concealed from view. The eagle has descended to give way to this vulture of modernity. Now, this is an era of darkness in which corporate greed, consumerism, all sorts of excesses are leading us into some oblivious path of self-serving mentalities. Not that this is the first time this has ever happened, but it is a bit more rampant. Now, in his work, Naciendo la Vida, he does mention a teacher of his, Don Manuel. Don Manuel states that en esta región antes mandaba el águila. In this region, the eagle once governed. He also compares in the same work the eagle to the force of the spirit. Now, this is not to imply the need to be spiritual, religious, or superstitious, since that's pretty much what we're trying to get away from, the mentality of mental slavery brought forth from religiosity. But really, for it to be the fuel that compels us into want to bring forth change. We will be discussing that at the end of the video. Now, the mention of the period of darkness, which has gone on for the past 500 plus years, is followed by a promise that we as his descendants are to fulfill. They will raise themselves up and gain strength, and as goodness may grill their destiny in this our beloved Anahuac. Now, this is not to say again that we are to remain superstitious, awaiting a miracle to happen, but rather that we are to play an intricate role in bringing that prophecy to fulfillment. Now, Nahuatzin, who we can simplistically refer to as an Aztec sun god, was described as being full of swords. Now, we bring to mind images of Greco-Roman gods of the sun. They're perfect human-like specimens. Apollo, the sun god's locks of golden hair to represent the sun's rays. And then we have our Aztec Mexica god, which is a personage full of swords. Now, it's not necessarily his looks that granted him the godly status, but rather his bravery and valor. I'm using the terms God and deity loosely, since there was no such thing as a concept of gods or deities in the ancient Mesoamerican and indigenous tradition in the Greco-Roman, pagan, and Judeo-Christian tradition. Now, the same bravery with which he immolated himself by jumping into the fire to bring forth the fifth sun is the same bravery that we ourselves are to emulate in bringing forth the sixth sun, the new era in which Chicanos, Native Americans, First Nations, Aboriginals, colored people from all over the world are to rise up and combat the New World Order, which is what we're living on now. Not some Illuminati conspiracy. This is the New World Order. Look all about you. Look what's happening in Bolivia with Evo Morales having to evacuate the country, the indigenous people being put through the same thing that brown peoples have gone through for the past 500 years. That's the New World Order. And so anyways, Texistecatl, which was the other god that was chosen to immolate himself to bring forth the new sun, did not have the bravery to do so. Once Nanahuatzin jumped in, that's when his ego was wounded, and he jumped in afterwards. Since he was second in command of joining in, he is now a lunar god. Now, what are we to do with all this information? We'll pretty much be inspired with the bravery and desire through which to fight for our people, to combat the oppressor at large, and empower our communities, our brown communities, colored communities. Now, we cannot bring forth in the community a change in the community or combat the oppressive majority if we do not first work on ourselves. Now, there's a lot of symbolism with what the birds meant to Indigenous Americans, so I am going to go into that in detail in the following video. The quetzal, the hummingbird, the eagle, you name it, the tzopilote. And from there, I'll take it to, speaking of Quetzalcoatl, that eagle, the feathered serpent god, compared to the devil and whatnot, which is in reality, from what I've studied, an embodiment of both our higher and our lower nature. The serpent, Coatl, and Quetzal, the higher aspirations of humanity. So stay tuned for that video. We will develop this further, and I hope to hear from you all.